these time frames. It's these time frames. You know, March is, again, I don't remember what day is it, March 20th, or I forget what day the eclipse is on, but you know, March is huge. You know, March is huge. I just think that we have that. There's always got to be that 40 days allowed in there, okay, from 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 the time that he lets us go, that he takes us, and then we come back and minister for 40 days before the rapture. So it and there's many dates. I'm going to say many dates, but I mean there's periods, and we know that we're in the season. That's the thing, is we know that we're in the season. It's just getting them on the right calendar and the right pattern sequence. Okay, and I think that's our last thing that we have to do. We're trying really, really hard. Trying really, really hard. I mean, it's pushing me to no sleep, and which is not good. I know. And trust me, don't please. I mean, I get a little. I don't stay up all night long every night, but I mean, I stay up late. But I mean, I don't stay up all night. And trust me, it's the Holy Spirit just pushing me. I just am just right there. You know, we are right there, right there, almost right there. And it's not about a date of his coming. You know, whether he comes now, I mean, or in the spring, we're right there. It doesn't matter. That's not it. It's being, again, like I said in the last video, it's being aware. It's being aware. Okay? But don't worry. Please don't worry. You can't worry. You can't worry at all. I know it's hard, but you can't. Think about this. Thank God, though. Think about this. Think of everything. Think of everything you've gone through to get here. Okay? To get here. Thank him every day for that. You know, I know some of you know my story and some of you don't. But I grew up. I had a wonderful childhood. Okay? I mean, we were not rich, we're not poor. My dad worked on the railroad. There's 9 of us kids. I'm the baby. I've been an aunt since I've been 3 months old. It's like 77 nieces and nephews. Been around babies forever, right? So I'm like a baby holic. Oh, look, my blanket. My daughter had me a blanket made of my granddaughter. All these pictures. It is absolutely beautiful. This huge blanket she gave me for Christmas is wonderful. Made me cry. This best Christmas gift I've ever received. But you know, I just had a wonderful foundation. My mother was so sweet. She was so sweet. She was just good. She was just good, good, and you knew it. Everybody knew it. My dad, he's quite the opposite, right? He was a good man. He was a good father. He was a good husband. But he's stinky, you know, real dry sense of humor. But he loved us, and he provided for us, and we were his life, and we came first. And he was old school, boy. That's the way he was. And you respected him. You know, we had rules. When you went to the dinner table, you know, my brothers did not come without a shirt or anything, you know, underwear. And see, nowadays, nobody teaches their kids that, you know. I mean, there are a few, don't get me wrong, there are a few, but, you know, you didn't go at the table if you didn't have a shirt on, or if you just had your underwear on or something. You had to chew with your mouth closed. That's a pet peeve of mine, too. These kids, they don't, I can't take it. Anybody who comes to my house, you have to chew with your mouth closed, or you just can't eat here. I just can't take it. So, but we had rules, right? My mother grew up a Jehovah's Witness. She didn't. No. She didn't grow up a Jehovah's Witness. She started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was young. And I go, oh, that's for company. I go, it's her like tea time, you know. It's like tea time. Like once a week they came over for the study, and she was getting her coffee and getting all that stuff, you know. If my mother, I will tell you, my mother was valedictorian. She was so smart. My mom loved God, loved the Lord. she didn't always study with them. It was toward when she got older. But I said, boy, let me tell you this. If I had my mother here now and I went through everything with her to show her, she'd be first to say, oh, yeah. Oh, I got it. I see it. I see it. She really would have. She really would have. And that's why I said, I go, it was her tea time, you know? Well, but I knew I wasn't comfortable with that. I tried to study with him. I tried to study with him, right? It never set with me. Never set. I understand how they think what they think, and how they do, but that the book is rewritten. Their Bible's rewritten. It's different. No wonder they believe different than us, and it's because their book is different than ours. Okay, so, but it just didn't settle right with me. But my mother taught me to pray, from the time I was little. And I always crawled in bed with my mom and dad, always. I was the baby, but I always crawled in bed, snuggled. And she always taught me to pray. She always taught me in Jesus' name. I mean, just always. She taught me everything good. Everything good. So, and she didn't, it wasn't until, I was a little older that she started studying with witnesses. But my mother was 43 when I was born. 43. My dad was 49. Okay? I was the oops baby. When you're the oops baby, you always wonder why. Why? My parents were old my whole life. But I adored them. I totally adored them. But I was always a baby. My oldest brother, okay, I'm 52. My oldest brother is 75. He was a minister, Methodist minister, who became worldly. Sweet, sweet man, became worldly. And a couple of years ago, I said the last is first and the first is last. I knew why I was born. I knew it. I knew it, So, I may not always understand how my brothers and sisters don't. I'm the baby. Okay? I'm the peacemaker in my family. Always have been. Always have been. I get along with everybody, or I did. Always was really close to all of them. Except my older brothers, like my older brother, he really doesn't know me. He has a daughter my age, and he was gone, but he's been in California my whole life, but he really doesn't know me. He doesn't. And that's a shame, too. So, if I tell him something, you think he's going to listen to me? And that's a shame. Because that's why I was born. I'm telling you. That's why I was born. So, but I just went through life just, I always knew God had my back. Always knew God had my back. And just had a full life. Totally full life. And when I was a teenager, I did what teenagers do, okay? But I didn't do them to the extreme, okay? Because I always had that paranoia. I was the paranoid. I always had that paranoia. And it just kept me. Because I always knew God was there watching. Always. Always knew he was watching. And that kept me from doing things. Even though I didn't go to church, okay? Even though, I didn't belong to a church. I didn't have a church. I didn't go to church all the time, you know what I mean? I'd go with friends. I went to a bunch of different churches with friends. I didn't have my own church. I really didn't even know what religion I was, right? So, but I knew I loved God. I knew he loved me. And I knew he was watching me, And I knew when he didn't like stuff, I never wanted to disappoint him. And from the time I was little, when my mom first told me those that had a pure heart would see the face of God, it's always what I wanted. Just let me have a pure heart so I can see the face of God. And so, we all go through we all make choices, and sometimes, take that left instead of taking the right that God wants us to take, because we do. But my first husband, just, he's the father of my children, my 3 kids, but he just never when you're young and you're still young, but once your kids are born and you grow up, okay, and then all of a sudden, like the picnics, they're not for you. They're for the kids. They're for the rides, not the beer stand. Okay, but he could never get past that beer stand, right? And so it was always me, just me, always with my kids. And early on, I just knew, this. I don't even think he knew the kid's teacher's name, but you just he screamed all the time. His family was not like mine. We were totally unequally yoked. Um, I didn't come from a screaming family, okay? His he all he did was scream. So when you live with a person that screams all the time, what do? You start screaming. You start screaming. Your kids start screaming. I mean, from the time you woke up in the morning, it's horrible. It's horrible. And he thinks it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. But he just never could stop drinking. But you now looking back, I totally know there. The spirits, the open doors. I know what all those things were that were in our life. Okay, so, um, but the day I left, I mean, and I had been, oh, it's the he never punched me, but he would throw, like, he would humiliate me is what he would do. He would humiliate me, okay? And I was always very outgoing. I mean, I played every sport there was, but yet still all dialed up. Um, and just never met a stranger, could talk to anybody, and he always would ruin those days for me. My best friend, our whole life planned the days we're going to get married, right? Finally, here now she's going to get married, and I'm her maid of honor, and he had to ruin that day over nothing, but ruin it. So you're looking back, all days that were anything, he always had to ruin them. Always. Always. Everything I loved, he had to ruin. If he would get mad, any new thing that I had, and when I was married to him, I didn't have very much, okay, at all. But let's say if I got a new book, flower arrangement or something, it would be the first thing that he destroyed when he got mad, and he would destroy it. Just hurt, hurt. So, uh, you make a choice. You either live the rest of you like that, or you don't. And I tried. I divorced him and married him again. I tried because I'm thinking, I've got this daughter. I only had Tara then. She deserves her father. She deserves to be with her father. That's what's God going to say? I get divorced. I got divorced. I mean, I can't go with another man. And, at that time, I didn't know the Bible very well. I knew it, but I didn't know it. But I knew it was in it. And, and it's all I could think about. And he just wouldn't leave me alone. He wore me down. But I tried. I tried. And they say, oh, I change, I change. I will tell you what. You want to know somebody? Look at the last 2 years of their life. Look at it. It's probably going to be the next 2 years of their life. Okay? Change does not happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's a change. Okay, but it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a few months. It doesn't happen. You want to know somebody? Look at the last 2 years of their life, and that'll pretty well tell you who they are. Okay, it's a process, and it's not that it can't be done, but it's a process. Okay, so I tried many times to stay during that and do it, but it was the throwing the shoes at the back of my head, throwing food on me, throwing food on me, um, just things to really, he would just want to humiliate me. And see, he thinks nothing of spitting in your face, and he has absolutely no respect for women, obviously. So when your children see that, you know, just appalling things. Um, just Just, mm, you know, when I was done, I was done. But the day I left, Taylor was a year old. Actually, I was filed for divorce when Taylor was a baby. I mean, I was pregnant with Taylor. Okay, all my kids are 4.5 to 5 years apart. I was going to divorce him. I found out I was pregnant. I cried for months, months. I mean, I love babies, right? But months. I was so, oh. But he worked for the railroad at that time, and so he made very good money. And but I had filed for divorce, and I stayed separated the whole time I was pregnant. So here I was. I had all my kids are 4.5 to, see, Trey was 4.5, and Tara was like 9 or 10, and 9, I guess. And then I'm pregnant with Taylor, and the whole time, So I went through the whole pregnancy, everything, me and the kids. So, but it was when I had him, I started thinking, he's not going to even know his dad. He's not going to have any pictures of his dad at the hospital and, all those sentimental things that. So I called him now, allowed him back in. One more shot, because we have this brand new baby, and I thought this baby deserved it. We were divorced by Taylor's first birthday, And when I left, why I'm telling you the story is because especially women who think, God's got something greater for you. Trust me on this. You just have to, when he opens the door, you got to walk through it. Okay? Now, I was holding Taylor, and he threw a pot of hot coffee on me. And I was like this, and Taylor was like, almost a year old. And I I turned my whole body so it didn't get him, but it got my back. It didn't leave any scars or anything, but I ran to the bathroom and I jumped in the shower. But I mean, who does that? Who does that? I mean, since the day I met that man, it was a battle. You understand? And I thought that he just had not been loved enough. If he has the right kind of love, I can change him. Because we see that good in them, right? We see that good in them, but it's always not around everybody else. But we see that sweet side, that goodness. But you know what? That bad just overrides that good, and it doesn't. It just doesn't stay. And so, we have no power. And when you're young, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. If I had the tools that I have now, but back when you don't know that. There's no. It's not about you loving them enough. It's not about you loving them. It's nothing about that. Okay. So this is a huge pattern in the world today. Huge, huge, huge. Am I saying divorce is the answer? No, I'm not saying that. But you gotta know what it is. There was just no win here on this one. But and it's just he's still the exact same man, exact same man. Um, but still screams, screams, screams. Um, but you know what? When I left, I left everything because I wasn't going to argue with him over anything. I left my house. I left my furniture. I left everything. I took me and the kids' clothes, and that was it. That was it. And I started from scratch. I had to go live with my parents for like 6 months. But you know what? I went in. I had to drive their old car, and I left the cars there. I left everything because I wanted no attachment. Because I knew that if I argued over anything, or what, that would be a way of him, having an excuse to fight with me, and I wasn't going to do it. It was a clean break. I broke it. That was it. Take it. I don't care. Take it. Take it. Take it. It means nothing to me. So, I'm not gonna argue over anything. And the Lord gave it all back to me. You know what I mean? So it was hard. It was really hard. But had to go stay with my parents. I drove their old car, but I got a job right away. And after a couple of paychecks, I got enough to put down for a car, and then saved up some more and got enough to go out and rent a house, 3-bedroom house for me and the kids. And so within 6 months, we were in and out. you know. And I had a fabulous job and great life, and went from there. But I worked hard. you know, and I sent my kids to a private school, but which I paid for, but it's which I hated, matter of fact. But I mean, you can do it. You can do it. See, you can do it. Um, it's not impossible. You can do it. You can do it. But then, I met my second husband, right? Wasn't expecting it. Met my second husband. Thought was the greatest guy in the whole wide world. And totally felt head over heels in love. I mean, in love. The soulmate drop dead kind of love. You know, the movie kind of love. There you go. Um, but you know what? That's not always a good love. But I remember in I remember thinking, my life is perfect. My life is perfect. You know, together we made lots of money. I mean, we had everything we wanted. We had this wonderful life. He had 2 children. I had 3 children. I mean, yeah, I had a phenomenal job. He had a business. He had his own business. I mean, it was just good, right? I was so happy. I was so happy. I was so happy. But all I could see was him. All I could see was him. All I could see was him. And I said, these are the words I said, my life is perfect. Well, let me tell you that. That was no more out of my mouth. And the Lord's like, really? Really, little girl? Well, I'm just going to show you how not perfect it is. You know? I mean, and we were, this wasn't right after I'd met him. I mean, we'd been together, for about for about 3 years. Just total happiness, right? But I was like, oh, my life's just perfect. I just felt so blessed. Really. I just kind of just walked through it. Nothing bad ever happened. I mean, really bad, Not compared to my friends or people I knew. Um, and that's when he showed me. And that's when my mother died. Okay? My mother died. Then, a few months later, I was in a car accident. Okay? And it whipped my back, right? And I mean, I couldn't turn, I couldn't move, and I had to have these back surgeries and all these titanium plates and everything put in my back, and never been the same. And especially for an athlete to go through this and not be able to do this. And I was tiny. I was only size 4, 3, 4 then. I was little. So at the time. So, and never could bounce back. Never. So it was meant to be. See, he had to take that from me, because would I have turned in this direction on my own if I was still in that? Probably not. Because, that was pulling my attention. He was pulling my attention. And I mean, I was so blinded by love. So blinded by love. Okay? That's how we get. That's how we get. And he was raised in the church, but boy, he turned. It turned. And, I mean, not saying he would go, but I hear him at home, and I hear his real thoughts. He had walked away from God, and he was totally in the world and into everything in the world, okay? And it just got worse. It just got worse. I mean, everything was just getting worse. But see, he had to. I was moving this way, and he wanted me to go, or I was moving this way, he wanted me to go this way, okay? But I thought I was going where he wanted me to go. Totally blinded, I still thought he had my back. Still thought he had my back. Thought he had my back. Because I was good. And I knew I was good. I did good things. And I had a good heart. And I did So that's when the spanking started, When my mother died, I was so devastated. Never lost anybody. So devastated, though. But I will tell you this. This is why they say my did not heal. It's because my mother died in July. I got hurt in October. My accident, stopped the mourning process of my mother. and then and and then I had a hard time. I cried for like 4 years over my mother, and I couldn't get over my mother's death because my accident stopped my mourning, and the mourning kept me from healing. If that any makes any sense. They both, you know, went off of each other. So that's why I didn't heal. One feeds off the other. Okay? So then my father died a year and a half later. Actually, my children lost all three of their grandpas in 1998. 1998, they lost all three of their grandpas. So, but and then things from then, and we're building these homes and doing all this stuff and traveling all over the world, and we're doing all of this, and I'm just la 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 la. I'm totally clueless to what he was doing. I knew he loved me. I knew he adored me. I did. I knew he did. But but see, sometimes just as who they are, right? Sometimes a cheater is just a cheater. You know, it's not you. It's not us. It has nothing to do with us. It is them. And so, but that's why I understand women. As women are men. When you have these things happen to you, you take them personally. Okay, you take them so personally. And what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why would they do that? And blah blah blah. And you take it back to you. That's opening door. That's spirits. Now I know that's total spirits. But it's not. It's not us. It has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Completely them. Completely them. But everything just started. Everything. You know. And then I start having problems with my children, with my son Trey, the one who died. I start having trouble with Trey. Just, and I was trying to nip it when it started. But it was typical it was typical boy teenage stuff. I'm gonna say this in the world how it is now. They just think that they're gonna overrule you, and you're not. They're not gonna overrule me. It's a typical 16-year-old testing the waters. But starting when I was 15, but it's testing the waters. But it was just, I mean, so much every single day from everything, everything. From sneaking out at night to taking my cars and just driving everywhere. And I mean, we had like 5 cars in the driveway. He'd pick whichever one was parked closest, I guess, or whatever he did. But I was trying to save him, and he was so cocky. He was just so adorable. He just had that it factor, whatever that, he just truly had that it factor. But and my kids were all involved in everything, and but, I had my foot in that world, all about that world. I did. I didn't understand it. My foot all about that world. And he didn't want me there. The Lord did not want me there.